Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the YYH collab that has returned to North America. So, the YYH collab was the very first event to actually feature the Monster Exchange system, and this system revolutionized how we approach collaborations because we are now able to trade in various fodder cards to acquire a top tier rarity card of our choosing. This enables us to basically bypass rolling in the event completely and avoiding all the nonsense or junk at the very bottom. So when YYH first came here, we actually had the chance to trade for Yusuke, who at the time was one of the best, or maybe the best leader in the game. So because of that, many players traded in their various Godfest exclusives to acquire Yusuke. They didn't actually roll in the event because for the most part, the event was kind of lackluster. There wasn't many good cards to really acquire. So with its return, players were hoping that Yusuke would receive sizable buffs, but unfortunately, instead of really buffing Yusuke, they gave him, as well as every other card in the event, a limit break plus super awakenings, but he received no leader skill upgrade, just a stat buff from being able to go to 110, and split evolutions. So we now have split evolutions for several of the cards in the event, which gives them a brand new kit completely. They have new active skills, new leader skills, and possibly new awakenings. So it does give a bit more diversity. It has transformed several older cards into ones that are significantly stronger, but again, a lot of players were hoping that Yusuke would receive a bit more love. Now, that's not to say Yusuke is weak. Yusuke is still strong. He's just not as dominating as he used to be. So this event features plenty of different cards to roll, and the problem with that is that there are so many different cards you can acquire. It makes it much more difficult to actually snipe and acquire the one card you are really hunting for. Now, of course, you still can utilize the Monster Exchange system, but at least for myself, in my opinion, I don't feel like there's anything really worth exchanging for. Like, there are some strong cards, but they're not like the same degree of power that Yusuke had upon initial release. You could still trade for Yusuke. He still can clear the vast majority of content, but you are not going to be having that big step up in terms of power creep compared to other currently available options. Now, I'm going to be going through all the cards in this video / article. It's going to take some time. These are quite long and lengthy for the most part, so buckle up. Now, every card in this event has acquired the ability to be limit broken, which means they have that blue text on their level, which means you can feed a super snow globe, they can go to level 110, gain additional stats, as well as unlocking a super awakening, which only takes effect in solo mode. I already explained the Monster Exchange idea, but what I want to emphasize is my approach to collab rolling. So rolling in any raid machine is a gamble, and you're not guaranteed to roll anything good. You could roll amazing, you could roll bad. And for myself, at least, I want to try and maximize my rate of return in terms of how much magic stones I spend and the chance of me acquiring something of value. So for the most part, I tend to look at the bottom rarity of any event, and I think these are the cards I'm going to be getting. If I rolled these cards, would I be happy? And if the answer was yes, I probably would roll. And anything that I get that's a higher rarity, I can almost think of as a collateral bonus or just a nice little extra surprise. So that is the mentality I have. This may not necessarily be the same that you share. Everyone has different goals, spending habits, and wants or needs in Puzzle & Dragons. So again, it's all up to personal preference. So as mentioned before, all 6-star cards can be acquired via the Monster Exchange at a 4-to-1 ratio. So Yusuke has the exact same active and leader skills he did in the past. He's still at 2.25 times health recovery and 225 times attack. He has now the ability to gain a 777 combo or he can have 3 7 combos with his super awakenings, and that is the awakening I would strongly recommend because it's going to give him huge amounts of personal damage. Basically just matching a regular board, you can have 8 times personal damage on both leaders. That's going to be a huge amount of damage output, and you still have that VDP on top of that. So you are going to be having very high amounts of effective personal damage, so it still makes him a very strong card. Like, yes, his leader skill did not get buffed, but the leaders themselves and the cards that are VDPing became significantly stronger in that sense. Now, Yusuke's new evolution is completely different. His active skill creates a 3x3 box of light orbs for VDPing, and his leader skill now is the same multipliers as Dark Metatron, 4 times health, same effective health, 4 times health, 43.75% damage reduction, and 256, not 225 times attack when connecting 8 light orbs. So that is a bit of a problem because his multiplier, or at least his offensive multiplier, is conditional on having numerous light orbs present. If you only have, I think I wrote it down here somewhere, but when you have only 4 light orbs, you have 64 times damage. Nothing is going to die. Yusuke himself in this form has no offensive awakenings. He doesn't have those 777 combos anymore. He has VDP. So when he does make a VDP, he will have very high damage, but you're not going to be able to have 9 light orbs present all the time. So with 4 connected light orbs, you start at 64 times. You're not going to kill very much. With 6, you do hit 144. It's getting reasonable, but the thing is, the original Yusuke hits 225 times from basically any given board, as long as you had 1 set of water, 1 set of light, which is quite common. So activation consistency is going to be significantly lower for this card. So I am loath to recommend this evolution if you only have 1 Yusuke. If you have multiple Yusukes, go for it. Make another evolution. You have a new toy to play around with. He does a very high personal damage in terms of VDP potential, because he basically can have triple VDP and 1 attack while below 50%. So very high personal damage when you form that 3x3 box, but as a leader, it's quite orb hungry. Yes, you have the durability, but we want to clear content in a reasonable period of time. We don't want to spend double the amount of turns to clear the same thing you could have done with regular Yusuke. So it's kind of weird. And one other point I want to mention is that this Yusuke's damage reduction only occurs when you are below 50% health. So you don't have that, your effective health is not as high as you actually think. You still have the 4 times health, and when you dip below 50%, you're kind of back at 4 times health again, because that's when your damage reduction triggers. But that also means if you're at, like, say 50, 60% health, like say 55, 60% health, you're quite vulnerable, because you get 1 big hit and then suddenly you might die. This also means that he is vulnerable to gravity plus hit combos. If you're at full health, you get gravity by 99%, you go down to 1% health. Now your shield activates, but then that subsequent hit afterwards does kill you. So again, it's a little bit of a problem, and it's just worth being aware that this can occur. So Yusuke is still definitely strong. He is still going to be able to clear the vast majority of content, but the biggest issue, at least for his original form, is that he has no damage reduction. So again, that gravity hit combo, which is seen quite often in Alt Arena 2 and Arena 5, is going to be lethal. Next is a returning old card who received just Super Awakenings and some buffs to their leader skill. They have an active skill that causes delay and orb change, so it's kind of a weird mix at the same time. Usually delays are just kind of awkward at this point in time, because whatever the extra benefit is, it's not necessarily going to help, unless maybe it's haste. That could make sense, but we don't have that yet. Regardless, this card here provides you with 4 times attack when above 50% health, 3 times RCV when matching 4 heal orbs, so huge amount of healing potential, 4.5 times attack and reduced damage taken when matching 6 or more connected wood orbs. So you're very fragile unless you match wood orbs, and that is problematic, but your damage is very high. You have 324 times attack. So in my head, I feel like this card here will definitely function best in terms of swipe farming, because you can pop a Zeus Dios and then you can swipe the full board, and now you have 324 times attack, which should kill most things in the game, and that's going to make your life significantly easier. And of course, you can use the full boards in conjunction with double row makers to make those extra combos or VDP boxes. So it's going to be, in my opinion, a strong farming leader, but for traditional content, it's going to be awkward, because you need those 6 wood orbs to get the shield, and without the shield, you only have 1 times health. You're probably going to take too much damage because you won't have wood orbs present all the time. So it is interesting, the fact that you can swipe for 324 times attack, but it's nothing necessarily game-changing. In all honesty, Amon is really just the best farming leader, because he can spike for incredibly high amounts of damage, and your team building constraints are significantly lower. Next is this individual here. I'm not going to pronounce names because I will do them wrong, I can guarantee it. And they gained bonus stats, obviously, with their Limit Break and Super Awakenings, but it's really their new evolved form that is the one we actually should be focusing on, because their active skill is the first one in the game to provide 99 turns of Dark Skyfalls. We've had Water, we've had Wood in the past, I believe, but this is the first time for Dark. And it has synergy with their leader skill. Their leader skill is the same damage reduction style as Edward, where you're above half health, you have 57.75% damage reduction, and then you have a fast scaling multiplier when matching 2 or 3 dark combos. Now, statistically speaking, you're not going to have 6, let alone 9 dark orbs present on a given board, but with this 99 turns Skyfall, you greatly enhance the chance that will occur. So, if I'm not mistaken, every orb has an equal chance of dropping down. So a 1 in 6 chance because we have 5 colors plus hearts. When you boost that 16.67% by 7%, you are going to be at 23.67. So you're getting very close to 1 out of 4. So at that point in time, in theory, 1 out of every 4 orbs that drop down should be dark. So if you clear 8 combos or 24 orbs, you should statistically have 2 sets of dark orbs come down. Now, of course, things don't work out that way, but it should, in my head at least, give you a higher degree of consistency in terms of having activation. Because when you do match 2 dark combos, you have 225 times, which is sufficient. Like, that's high level. Plus, the thing is, he's got the same awakenings as Yusuke, except instead of an extra skill boost, he has an extra time extend. Same high personal damage of 777 combo with a VDP. So even with just 2 dark combos, you can kill lots of content. 3 dark combos and you're just going to obliterate stuff. But one thing I want to stress is that because you only need 1 leader's active skill, the second leader can just bring an inherit and have it charge up and use that. Another thing to keep in mind is this type of Skyfall buff is most beneficial in longer dungeons, because if you pop it towards the very beginning, you'll have like 20 odd floors of bonus dark orbs, and then you can charge up the inherit that was on this card originally, so you have even more active skills available to us, like compared to other teams. So I think it's quite exciting. I feel that it has a little less consistency than Edward, obviously because, well, you have to have lots of dark orbs on the board. Edward activates from any given board, so it's just your give and take, but it's still a significantly stronger card compared to its original debut. Now, Ryzen's a card I've kind of been flip-flopping between A and B. He can be strong in certain scenarios, but he has quite a few interesting things going for him. So his active skill changes the leftmost column into hard orbs, which is immediate follow-up attack options, and then you do 200 times attack damage button nuke to a single enemy and reduce your health to 1. So a 200 times nuke on a 5-turn cooldown is incredibly fast charging. He also does have naturally high attack, but the thing is 200 times attack may not necessarily be enough to kill certain spawns, so it mostly might be used to set up, in terms of button usage, low health button cards like Grimjaw, where you want to be at 1 health. So you pop Ryzen and then you pop Grimjaw, you have higher button damage overall. So an interesting active skill in those regards. Their leader skill can be quite interesting as well. They have 3 times attack for light and then 2 times attack when below 50%. So again, his active skill resets your health, can definitely be used for this mechanic. And then 3 times attack and reduce damage taken by 50% when matching 5 or more connected light orbs. So this peaks out at 324 times attack with 75% damage reduction. So kind of like the green card we talked about just beforehand, you can swipe a full board of light for 324 times damage. So very high there. But at least with Ryzen, I feel like you have a bit more chance of clearing traditional content. But the thing is, your damage reduction, which is very high, is tied to matching 5 or more connected light orbs, which may not necessarily be present on any given board. So it's kind of like, it could be great, but I feel like it's going to have some consistency issues. But of course, I'm probably not going to roll this card. Like, I use this event in Monster Exchange for Yusuke, rolled my free, got a 5-star, forgot about it. Probably going to happen again this time around. So if you feel that Ryzen is significantly stronger, let me know how you find him working for you. Next is this dude here, and this guy here has received a very sizable buff, not for his base form, but for his new evolution. We're just going to kind of drop down because it's kind of awkward. It's like a Kusanagi Hime for attacker types. And again, Kusanagi Hime is not a name we've heard in 2019, maybe not even in 2018. It's been so long since she's been relevant. But his new evolution is quite exciting. His active skill gives you 75% damage reduction for 1 turn, so you can tank very large hits, and then change all orbs to fire, water, light, and dark. So it does leave out hard orbs, so it makes follow-up attacks not possible, and it does lower the chance of having VDP because, well, you have 4 colors, less likely to have 9 at least in a similar location. But it's their leader skill and awakenings that are quite exciting. His leader skill gives you a 7x6 board, so now there's another 7x6 option, and then 3.5 times attack when 8 or more combos, 3 times attack, and reduce damage taken by 25% when matching 4 or more colors. So you have higher damage output than Diablos, you have the same amount of damage reduction, but the only issue is you have a more difficult to activate clause because you have to match 4 colors instead of N8 combos, which will always be done on a 7x6. But the 4 color clause is going to be problematic. And it's kind of ironic because this card here is now the strongest VDP option in the game, assuming you can hit 10 combos. Because he has a 10 combo awakening, which is 5 times damage, a VDP is 2.5, and through super awakenings you can get a VDP or a 7 combo. So with the 7 combo super awakening, he has, I believe it was 25 times personal damage for VDP. If you take double VDP, you get 31.25 times damage. The highest VDP potential in the game, but it's going to be a little hard to fully utilize because if you use him as a leader, which is still viable, it's going to be a little harder to have 4 colors plus your 3x3 box. Like, it's just going to be an awkward distribution perhaps. You're also restricted in terms of the types of active skills you can bring into a dungeon. You're not going to be able to basically spam or abuse those bicolors to make easy VDP. You definitely need 7x6 because you're not going to hit 10 combos on a regular basis. So it's kind of like this catch-22. You are a reasonably strong 7x6 leader, but it's hard to tap into your VDP with your 7x6 leader skill. But then if you use him as a sub on a 7x6 team, it's kind of weird at the same time. So one thing that I've been thinking about in my head is that at some point in time, we are going to receive the Monster Hunter collab from Japan, and that collab featured row-based cards, basically leaders who would blob orbs together, and that would give them plus combos built into the leader skill. So that means on a 6x5 board, you could potentially hit higher combo count while activating VDP, depending on the types of colors required or the plus combos generated. You might be able to hit 10 combos with a VDP board, and this can be quite exciting because it might give this card true relevancy on 6x5. Now, this is the first time Gung Ho has released these types of leader skills on a monster. I would not be surprised if they continue this trend because I think it's a nice direction for row or blob based teams to give them some sort of compensation for having a naturally lower combo count. So if we start gaining leaders that have friendlier activations, this card here is going to be an incredibly strong VDP card. But again, we don't have those here quite yet. I feel like he's just a little bit out of reach in terms of how much viability he can have for his VDP potential. But again, he is still a strong 7x6 leader. He can pair things like Akuma, who wants 9 combos, and utilize dark attribute cards. So it does open up certain doors because you may not own Diablos or Gilgamesh or Akuma for that matter, and you can do some interesting things there. Next is the first new 6-star card of this event, and I kind of feel like they're just a very luxurious Zeus verse. Their active skill gives you a full health heal and plus 2 combo count, okay? But they're like Zeus verse in that you have to be full health, but when you are full health, you have 80% damage reduction, which means you have 96% damage reduction with dual leaders. That's kind of absurd and outrageous, but it only works for a single hit. So if you are taking 100,000 damage, it's reduced down to 4,000 if it's a single hit. If it's a multi-hit, you reduce the first hit, and then every subsequent hit is going to be dealing the full amount, so it's not quite as amazing as you might think. Now, with 256 times attack, you are a little stronger than Zeus Verse. You do have a better Killer Awakenings because you have Devil and God, as well as being able to gain VDP or attack while above 80%. So you do have higher personal damage output, but to kind of compensate, you are restricted to using dark or fire attribute cards. So your team building ability is going to be more limited because one of Zeus Verse's great aspects was that you could use any sub in the game to customize your team for that dungeon at hand. Furthermore, Zeus Verse is farmable. This is a 6-star card from a collab, so I use my Zeus Verse for various ranking dungeons, certain farming content. I feel like it'd be a bit harder to utilize this card here just because you do have to have fire or dark. But of course, I'm pretty sure there will be players who can figure out ways to optimize this, but it just feels like more of a luxury card and not as much of as a practical application because when you play any leader with this full health clause, auto heal awakenings don't work because the damage, or it takes a look to see if you're at full health when you're matching orbs. And that will determine if you deal damage. You can heal up and then get your damage reduction once again, so auto heals could technically do that, but you won't have the damage multiplier in that sense, so you have to either delay or use their active skill to self-heal. And finally, we come to Yomi, who is the final 6-star card in the YYH collab. So Their active skill changes heals and all hazard orbs to dark, and then for 1 turn reduce all damage taken by 100%. So kind of like how Ganesha was one of the first full damage void cards in the game for a single turn, you have another option here. Their leader skill gives you 2 times health for dark attribute and then 43.75% damage reduction when below 50%. We're seeing that trend again. When you're at 55 or so percent health, you are in danger because you don't have that damage reduction yet. And again, you're still vulnerable to the gravity plus hit combination, so just keep that in mind. And then you have 3 times attack when 4 or more combos, up to 15 times attack at 10. So you are a combo-based leader, but you have the attack while below half health awakening, which is kind of awkward because if you are above half health, you're going to have very little to no damage output on your leaders, but when you are below half health, you activate into your damage reduction component and all your offensive awakenings take effect. So it's kind of a weird thing because you still have your full multiplier at full health, so your subs will be dealing damage, but unfortunately you won't be as your leader. And his damage scaling is not that forgiving in all honesty, because on a standard 6x5 board, you are going to have either 7 or 8 combos. And at that point, you're either 81 times or 121 times attack. So not the highest of multipliers, but you have to also remember that your leaders will not be contributing meaningful damage unless you are below half health. So you have a couple of things you have to juggle, and it is, in theory, really a combo-based leader. So we have many combo-based leaders who are much easier to manage. And the thing is, at 10 combos, which is not a common thing, you hit 225 times, which is nice, but not exactly game-changing. If it was like a 900 times or something very high, then sure, it might be more justifiable. But at this point in time, I feel like the multipliers are really too low to truly justify using him or her over other options. And now we come to the 5-star cards who some of them have received new active skills from various evolutions, but a lot of them have remained kind of obsolete, so to speak, because their active skills were not that great. The base stats or the weighted stats are around 1,040 for most of the cards at 110. And it's just like, it's hard to justify rolling this event for some of the 5-stars because they are a little weaker. So this yellow individual here has the ability to spawn 2 columns of light orbs. So this is great for 5 match teams that obviously want to use light orbs because you have 10 orbs worth of light. But again, it's kind of a niche application in all honesty. The 100,000 true damage to a single unit in his base form is nothing special. Like, I don't feel like this is that great of a card for the most part. Like, they gave him a new evolution, but it's not really solving many problems. In terms of their active leader skill, like, they do have a modest amount of health. They have some damage, but you have to connect 5 or more light orbs. You're basically have to jump through several different hurdles overall. This individual here has received a new evolution as well, so new active skill. And in their evolved form, their active skill is weaker in my opinion because you create a tri-elemental board of fire, water, light, and then 2 times attack for water, light. So that's nothing special in all honesty. It's a Chinese celestial active with a little damage boost. In their other form, they changed the far column to left and 1 column to light. Double column making is again good for those 5 match teams. So in all honesty, I'd probably leave in the base form because I wouldn't really be using this card either as a sub. This card here used to be quite strong because we lacked inheritable Awoken Bind clearing options. But at this point in time, we have farmable things like air. We also have many other ways to inherit Awoken Bind clearing, so it's just not that special. It does provide 4 times of bind clearing as well as 50% damage reduction, but those 2 components, each one individually is kind of weak. So in theory, you will get some value out of the active skill, but you probably will have a more dedicated Awoken Bind clearing option in all honesty at this point in time. So they have lost their kind of niche or edge that they had upon the initial debut. This individual here is truly disappointing. Like, they are still bad. They receive limit break and stat boost, but no one really ever used them. Like, their active skill removes locked orbs, reduce enemies defense to 0. So either component is not that great. Most strong board changes unlock the board, then change the board, so that's taken care of. And things with high defense are usually overcome either via guard break or just high enough multipliers, so they're not bringing anything interesting or spicy enough to the table to justify. This girl here is still quite sad. Yes, you get 2+ combo count for 1 turn and avoid all dark damage for 1 turn, but +2 combo count with really a truly niche secondary effect is kind of weird. One thing I can think to justify this usage is if you're facing a resolve spawn that is dark attribute and you can just pop the +2 combo count to form your like VDP or whatever pattern you need to do, and then you can obliterate the spawn and you dodge the execution damage. It's such a niche thing, and I don't think there's really any spawn that really justifies utilizing this type of active skill. And in all honesty, +2 combo counts tend to be better on when you get at least a better secondary effect. Chu is still a strong card that actually got buffed. You are able to heal 50% of your max health, so for high health teams like Zeus Verse, this is obviously great. And then you are able to deal light-based nuke damage equal to your team's water and wood attack. So if you have numerous cards with the co-op boost awakening with the water and wood attributes, you are able to deal sizable amounts of damage. It is technically a stronger option compared to Nergigante Hunter, who has 40 times team attack for dark and wood. But the problem with Chu is he has no co-op boost, which means his own base attack is going to be on the lower end, which means you're probably going to have to inherit him around, which means you may run into skill boost issues, so that it can be a little problematic. So it is still a strong button, but it is hard for players to build a truly amazing button-based team without either multiple Chus to justify running those types of subs or just having the right kind of co-op boost cards available. So it is strong, it can be powerful, but it's just really hard to utilize in most applications. I wonder if you can hear the baby crying outside. Hopefully not. Next is Jin. So Jin is a double row maker. They make 2 rows of wood, and we have had Yu-Gi-Oh! We've had Saber Assassin who are able to also spawn double rows, and they were farmable. So Jin is still going to be useful, it's just not as unique or as amazing because we now have at least had 2 farmable options. So the main reason why double rows are exciting is because you use them after a monocolored board changer of a different color. So for instance, you pop Machine Goemon, then Jin's active skill, you have an 18-12 distributed board, you are able to hit 8 combos, you are able to make 7 combo VDP, you are able to do a lot of interesting things. Another thing you can do is use something like Raphael's active skill to make a full board of hearts, and then Jin, and you can make a 3x3 box of hearts to trigger super follow-up attack for follow-up attack damage. So for my Nidhogg farming team, I actually did this. I utilized Raphael with a double row maker, had super follow-up attack inherited via the Typhon Chronomagia weapon assist card, and I was able to obliterate the spawn and then have that super follow-up attack of 2 damage to ping down the resolve. Double row makers are going to be great. I don't really foresee them ever going out of style. It's just that they're not as amazing because we do have 2 farmable options, but of course more is always useful. This individual here has triple machine killers and is dark, so that does make him quite unique. He can deal very large amounts of damage against machine type cards, but that's kind of all he's really going to do. He's got that niche application purpose. It is strong for sure, but again, it is tied to Super Awakenings, which means in co-op, it's not going to have that extra effect. Something like Bridget has triple machine killers naturally, so she would definitely be the more desirable option, especially if running in co-op. So still a reasonable card overall. It is definitely nice for solo mode, but it's not going to be that amazing in co-op. I believe I can say Itsuki is one of the new 5-star cards in this event, and they come with triple skill boost and in theory high personal damage of a 10 combo and a 7 combo. But the problem is they really don't do much else. They're just a wood damage stick with lots of skill boost that has to be used on 7x6 to tap into the 10 and 7 combo awakening. But the thing is, having just a large damage stick is not that special or amazing, because when you think about it, we tend to do enough damage with high-end teams already, and it becomes an issue of surviving, having the utility to overcome those dungeon mechanics, as well as having ideally something like VDP to penetrate through those void spawns. So Itsuki here will be doing great amounts of damage, but they're offering no utility to the team. You can find 777 combo cards like, say, Zila or Green Cotton or whatever it may be, and you can fulfill a very similar role with better stats, with better active skills, with better collateral benefits tied to their awakenings, because they just offer so few. This is a name I will not be able to pronounce, and they are quite interesting for the most part. They have the ability to reduce your health by 50% and then deal 100 times dark attack damage to a single enemy, and then heals and all hazards to dark. So a 5-turn quick charging action skill for a bit of health nuking and a bit of button damage. Either component won't necessarily be enough to fulfill various roles, but it is important to fulfill their leader skill, which actually is one of the reasons why they're quite exciting. So, their leader skill gives you 4 times attack when below 80% health, and then 2 times health and attack for dark attribute cards, and then 50 times attack additional damage after matching orbs. So, this is basically a resolve killer. In essence, we've had Light and Dark Vag, who are currently the 2 best options for follow-up pinging damage. They had 6 times multiplier. This individual has 8 times, so this is a higher level of damage output, which can open up various doors and windows because you are suddenly dealing more damage. You can modify team compositions. Things might become a little bit easier. Of course, they don't come with a triple skill boost. They do come with lower weighted stats, but with the double Devil Killer and Physical Killer in solo mode, or the attack while below 50%, they do have reasonably high damage output potentially. And some people have told me that you can pair this with other strong dark cards like Saber's Alt, the dark form, in order to like blast through content and not have to worry about resolves. So the main appeal and idea of this card is that you are able to deal with resolve spawns without actually having to make the column of hard orbs. So opens up different applications there, higher levels of damage overall. And one thing I do want to mention is they do naturally come with tape resist as a regular awakening. So you have tape resist. You don't have to worry about super awakenings. You don't have to worry about weapon assist. It's just something a little unusual. Now we come to the final card in the whole event, which is the beautiful Suzuki. And this card here comes with the orb skin. And they have the ability to create 3 fire, water, wood, light, dark, and heal orbs over any orb. So you're guaranteeing yourself 6 additional combos with each element, but it's their leader skill that's going to be quite exciting, along with the awakenings that come with it. They provide 1.5 times rank experience and 2 times attack when matching 4 or more colors. So you have the same amount of rank experience as Ganesha, and you have 2 skill boosts, and you actually have some offensive awakenings. So they do have some damage output overall, so it can ease some team building because at least you're pumping out a bit of damage, especially after your leader swap, which can definitely be useful. But the problem is, the dungeon bonus doesn't do that much. It's only plus 2%. It's really not that meaningful. And if you're really gung-ho about farming rank, you would have Saline. And Saline's 1.8 versus 1.5. And 1.8 results in significantly more rank experience. And that's the main reason why the beautiful Suzuki is not as highly valued in my opinion, because if there was no Saline, they would be significantly stronger because they become one of the better rank experience farmers in the game. But unfortunately, Saline does exist, and in all honesty, farming rank is not necessarily the greatest idea, because if you rank up too fast, you often waste lots of stamina, like you just overflow stamina and just rank up, and then that's problematic. But then again, once you reach those really high ranks, it becomes very difficult to rank up. So staying at a lower rank can be better because you beat like 1 or 2 arenas and then you can rank up. You can do other things. You have so much more stamina to play around with. Like for myself, I'm like rank 941. I am getting close to 450 max stamina. But the thing is, it's still taking the same amount of time to recharge my stamina as any other player, but I hardly ever rank up. So in all honesty, pushing for rank is not necessarily the best idea in my opinion. It will happen naturally over time. I actually just hit my 2,000 day login, so I have been playing for a prolonged period of time, and this is what the orb skin looks like. So in conclusion, the YYH collab does come with some interesting twist to it in the sense that everyone has Limit Break, everyone has Super Awakenings, but we are obviously a little disappointed that Yusuke didn't really become even better than he was before. He's still strong, but not as amazing. The other individual here for 7x6ing, as well as having incredibly high VDP, does open up new options. So there are some reasonable cards in this event, but again, the decision of whether or not to roll falls upon your own individual needs and monster box requirements. So let me know what you think about this event in the comments below. Do you think it is worth rolling in? And if so, what did you roll and how much did you actually chase those cards? Hopefully you have a fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.